Hi guys, I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to the channel. Wow, what an amazing week it's been on Football Index. The Bohan bounce is well and truly in full swing. We've seen, rockets across the entire market, and considering where we've been over the last couple of months, it is absolutely amazing to see. But with that, I guess it's been so easy to trade, over the last couple of months as someone that had, unshakable belief in this product and was just staring at disbelief at the prices that were available. It's just been about depositing, buying players at ridiculous value and sitting and waiting and see. So this week's the first time really I've had to kind of think about how I'm going to do things, how I'm going to play, what my strategy is over the coming weeks in a bit of a changing marketplace. So it's fantastic to be in this position, but I've just had to think a bit more carefully about my moves over the next couple of weeks. So I just thought I'd share with you my thoughts on the past week, what I've been up to and what I'm planning moving forward. So the first thing I've done this week is just look to move out a few of the holds that I don't really have complete confidence in long term. The first one of those being Christian Eriksen. So Christian Eriksen I picked up in late December, just as those Arsenal rumours were bubbling. Arsenal were clearly in the market for that kind of player. They'd been linked with Carlos Soler, they've been linked with obviously Martin Odegaard, who they've now got over the line. But at the time, Eriksen did feel like it made sense. I'm a big Spurs fan, loved Eriksen as a player, but the way his time in Milan has gone, even with the Spurs connection, I could have seen that one happening, and I did think there would be quite a sustained little period of media on that if he did go. So I picked him up around 80p, I believe. I've sold him this week at around 66p. Bit of a loss on that. Doesn't look like he's going anywhere fast. He's probably looking at another 6 months playing a bit part role at Inter Milan. Maybe going to the Euros, he might do something with Denmark, but approaching 30. Don't really know where the upside was without that move to Arsenal coming through. So yeah, a bit of a burn on that one. Cut my losses, moved them out. So the second player that I've moved along this week is Martin Odegaard in a similar vein, actually. So obviously he's just signed for Arsenal on loan. Just seemed like a good time to get out. I think I've got out at around 155, which I'm taking a pretty hefty loss on. He's a player that I bought probably around a year ago when he was really plumb in form for Sociedad. Starting to look like he could be a PB threat, and really just looking like a long-term solution to for Real Madrid in midfield as Modric and the like start to move on. Not really panned out that way. We've obviously found out that he's got tendonitis in his knees, which is a pretty bad injury. How many 90 minutes is he going to play moving forward? Who knows. I did consider holding a little bit longer. I think he is going to pick up some media over the next couple of weeks. But looking beyond that, if you look at the likes of Dani Ceballos, who a year ago wouldn't have been a dissimilar move, not getting a game for Arsenal at the moment, not threatening at all for dividends. I think Odegaard's got a bigger ceiling than that, but that's probably the natural comparison point at the moment. He's going to need to dislodge Smith Rowe, who's banging form. And once that media dries up, I don't see him getting the minutes required to challenge for PB. Maybe in the Europa League, we've seen that with Nicola Pepe, who, by no means is a fan favourite at the Emirates, but he's picked up a few PB wins in the Europa League. So maybe that's where Odegaard could pick up some value. But I think looking around the market at the moment, that £1.50, £1.60 range, do I want to be holding Odegaard with 2 dodgy knees and 60 minutes for Arsenal? Probably not. And the third, big sale that I've made this week, probably the one I'm least confident about and may end up biting me in the arse at some point, and that is James Maddison. So I've got around £2.05p for him, which again was a bit of a loss. I've held for potentially up to a year when the media around him and Grealish were kind of running parallel at that time. There was very, very strong links to Man United, which again seemed really plausible at the time. So I bought into Maddison then. The reason I've sold is I feel like he's pretty much at the top of kind of sentiment arc, if I can put it that way. So around £2.5p. I just think there's probably better bets out there in the market at the moment. The main reasons being that I think obviously that transfer is absolutely dead. I don't think there's any chance he's leaving Leicester this summer, probably not next summer either. I think he probably spends most of his career at Leicester, to be honest. PB wise, he is a threat, and again, the reason I've kind of deliberated rather on that one is that he is going to pick up some PB. He's not seen that many full 90 minutes this season. I think that continues with obviously Rodgers wanting to look after him. He's had his injury concerns. There is a bit of rotation there now as well, with the likes of Harvey Barnes, Cengiz and Dennis Pratt, Tielemans. They've got a lot of options in those kind of midfield regions. So I think he's going to continue to frustrate holders with 75 minutes here, 80 minutes there, and just miss out on those top wins. But I mean, ironically, I've got him in my my squad for this week, so I do still think he's a fantastic player, and he's going to rack up some big PB scores. So if you are holding Maddison, great. He's by no means a bad hold, but I just think at the price and at the sentiment he's at the moment, I don't know how much room to grow there is for Maddison compared to maybe some other picks out there. So Maddison's the third and final, I guess, big sale that I've made this week. So the next thing I've done this week is just look to, I guess, rebalance my portfolio a little bit. So I guess Jack Grealish is the main player I'm talking about here. He's a player that I do want a sizable holding in going into the summer. And I had a little piece of him, but I've essentially doubled my holding in him this week. He's not exploded quite as much as I guess some of the top end, so I still think I'm getting in at a pretty good price there. I guess as well as that, I've just topped up on some of those mid-range holds that haven't quite seen the, I guess, explosive trajectory of the top end, but I do think are a really good value. Mainly Mikel Oyarzabal, probably the most difficult player to announce on the index. Federico Chiesa, player I love. He's featured in my top 10 holds for 2021. If you haven't watched that, go and check that out. But yeah, just kind of rebalancing my portfolio. A lot of my depositing and buying over the last few months has been heavily concentrated on those top end players that just looked ridiculous value. So I'm just taking a bit of profit on that now and moving it lower down my portfolio, I guess. So just topping up on a few of those holds. I say topping up, I've still got a lot of bids sat there at the moment, which is a good thing, I guess. I need to get used to the fact that these kind of lowball bids just aren't going to get snapped up anymore. I hope anyway, which is a good thing. So I've done a little bit of buying now, a little kind of speculative, cheeky bids, and we'll see what happens with those over the coming weeks. So I am going to leave them there for now, see what happens over the weekend, how the sentiment holds up. But yeah, just a bit of rebalancing is the next thing I've done this week. So the next thing I've done this week is just have a little bit of a play around in what you call the lower end of the market. It's not typically a market I like to operate in. I'm pretty much a top 200 guy, but I've just had a little bit of a explore, I guess, down there. Typically, we see when the top end flies, it stretches the rest of the market. So just wanted to try and see if there's anyone that worth kind of getting on there while the prices remain so low. One that I have pulled the trigger on is Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Bit of fun factor in this as well. Obviously, I'm a big Spurs fan. I watch every game. And I just really like holding those kind of high baseliners that are just going to pass their way to 120, 130 scores. That said, I do think, he has got a 200 plus score already this season. He's picked up, I think, a Bronze Day dividend win. And yeah, he's just one of those players that I like to hold. I think he's going to start pretty much every game under Mourinho. He's one of the few Spurs players that is very likely to start both Premier League games and Europa League games. I think he's probably going to start both of those last 16 Europa League games, where he's going to have a good chance of competing for potentially dividends. He's probably going to benefit from MDE as well. He could start to rack up the odd penny over the season, and he's going to go to the Euros with Denmark. But yeah, just one of the players that I like having a bit of a dabble with, similar to, I guess, Granit Xhaka is a player that I hold. I bought him quite a while ago. When I expected him probably to go to the Bundesliga and maybe become a bit of a PB player there. But another one that's got a high baseline and might be prone to the odd media day win. You know, when you're holding players at 20p, 30p, you know, a 5p media day win is absolutely huge. You know, Xhaka has already won a couple of media days this year just from being daft and getting sent off or something like that. Højbjerg, you know, if he scores the winner in a big game, if he gets a sending off in a big game while the media monitor remains as it is, he's got a chance there. So he's one that I thought just looked half decent value, bit of a fun pick for me as a Spurs fan as well. So another player I've decided to pick up this week, I guess you wouldn't really call it the lower end. I picked him up for around 90p, is James Rodriguez. Again, not typically my trading style. I tend to go quite heavy on younger players, maybe 20 to 25 that I can just sit, hold, potentially win dividends on, that have future tournaments coming up as well. Most of my portfolio have got a good chance of going to the Euros. So yeah, it doesn't really fit that profile, but he's just come back from injury. Everton have got some pretty PB friendly fixtures coming up, and I think he's one that could just compete there. I think with sentiment flying at the moment, and we haven't seen I guess that kind of 100 to 200 player mid-range bracket really rocket yet. He's one that could benefit this weekend. He's in the early kickoff on BT Sport against Newcastle, which, yeah, I think he could put a good score together and maybe see a bit of appreciation on Saturday afternoon. So James Rodriguez, one I've picked up. Not sure how long I'll be planning to hold him. Like I said, 29 years of age. Yeah, not really an area I'm too comfortable holding, but he does have a PB max of 320 this season. He's definitely got the potential to really compete on goal days. So yeah, one that, again, a bit of fun over the next few weeks. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, James Rodriguez. So another thing I've been doing this week is, I guess, just looking into some what I call out of sentiment players. Mainly within the IPD hold market, which has obviously taken a battering over the last few weeks with obviously the removal of IPDs. But I think we just see quite often with new incentives that Football Index bring out, announcements, any tweaks and changes, we usually see a typical overreaction, both with, you know, rockets and some sell-offs. We saw it with obviously MDE. We've seen big rises in Kimmich, Mbappe, logical rises, I would say, on this occasion. But yeah, I just thought I'd take a little look into some of those out of sentiment players. One of which was Mason Mount. I think obviously we saw the announcement of Thomas Tuchel going to Chelsea, which, you know, the German holds flew up, and Mason Mount took a bit of a ding. Seemed quite illogical to me. I think Southgate loves him, Lampard adored him. The main reason for that being is he's just a fantastic player. He won I think Gold Day Star Man just a few weeks ago, and he's one that I think will get back into starting regularly for Chelsea and will continue to compete for dividends, regardless of the manager, because he is a fantastic player in my opinion. As well as that, I've taken a little look into what you call the IPD market, with obviously those holds taking a battering with the removal of IPDs over the last month. One I took a long hard look at was Ciro Immobile. Obviously not a big contender for PB, but I just think goals are really underestimated in terms of their importance to PB wins, and I think players like Immobile on the right occasion could put together a big enough score to challenge. You can pick them up for around 50p, but again, I just think risk reward, it wasn't quite there, and there's better bets out there at the moment. So I took a little bit into a look into the kind of outer sentiment holds that you might consider. I think Mason Mount is definitely one that I will look to get in on at some point. Those IPD holds, probably not. I think it's a bit too risky at the moment. And even with the drop off, it's quite a logical drop off. Again, I do heavily sympathise for holders of big IPD players before that announcement. So took a look into it. Not really for me. I'm going to leave that one alone. So another thing I'm trying to do this week is just to be really, really disciplined on holding a healthy cash balance. Something I've done pretty poorly in the past. Typically if dividends come in, they go straight into top ups or new players, and I've not been great at keeping a good cash balance in play. Partly that is, I guess, strategic as well. To be honest, I do some of my worst trading when I've got a big cash balance burning a hole in my pocket, just kind of over trading, really looking for opportunities that maybe aren't great value. So now I tend to, if I've got a big cash balance, I'll probably look to get it straight into those holes that I'm really confident in. But I think the way the market is at the moment, I'm just looking for it to stabilize really before heavily investing too much, again with the cash balance that I've built, I guess, this week. So I'm just going to sit tight for now as much as possible, wait to see what happens. Hopefully it's not going to happen, but we have seen a few false dawns over the last few months. So if there is a downturn, I do want to be buying in low and not at the top of a mini rise. So just going to wait and see how the next few weeks pan out really, and really trying to be doggedly disciplined with that cash balance. And I guess finally this week, I'm just playing a bit of a waiting game on some of the premium assets that I really want to be on, that I'm not at the moment, and just waiting for a good opportunity to get in on those. Namely, we're probably looking at Joshua Kimmich, Phil Foden would be the two main guys I'm talking about here. I think they've had an amazing January. Kimmich in particular is just racking up PB points for fun, and just looks like he's going to compete for Team of the Month. He's going to compete for PB at every opportunity. I don't hold at the moment. I'm always a little bit wary of, I guess, solely PB holds that go to those crazy prices. I mean, it's fair value at the price it's at the moment, but I just mean when you're looking at kind of king of the index potential, if you don't have that media appeal as well, we saw it with Trent Alexander-Arnold earlier on in the season, any kind of managerial tweak or just tangible change in the makeup of the team setup can have a massive impact. So I'm just a little bit wary of those players that don't compete for media, that are right up there in terms of PB. Phil Foden, I guess, falls into that bracket a little bit at the moment. I think I did hold Foden and got out at a good price, around £7, I think, just before order books came in. I held Greenwood and Foden together. Kind of really much enjoyed that rise over the late summer as they were chasing each other. Greenwood I still hold. I've watched him go all the way down. Foden I got out on at around £7, but I do want to get back in on him now. But I can't really justify it at the price he's at now, unfortunately. So I'm just waiting on these kind of guys. Bruno I'd probably put into that category as well. Just maybe I feel like, again, they're at the top of their sentiment arc at the moment, and just a little change in how they're perceived, and maybe a little bit of a dip, and I might look to buy into those. So there you have it, guys. That's what I've been up to this week. Other than that, loving the football, loving the state of the market at the moment. It's great to see some really big sustained rises. I think my portfolio's gone up about 40% this week, which is just unimaginable compared to compared to where we've been over the last couple of weeks. So enjoy it. Just a hint of caution on that though, do only bet we can afford to lose. We've seen a few false dawns before, and there's a lot of volatility in this market. So maybe de-risk a little bit if you do feel overexposed, and just be careful. But other than that, let's have a fantastic February. We're in a great place, and it's onwards and upwards from here, I hope. If you did like this video, guys, please do like, please do subscribe, and I'll be back next week with another update. I'll be damned if I do, and I'll be damned if I care or even try and care to. The snake's giving out the biggest hugs, I'm poisonous too.